Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show designed to make the world safe for ADHD. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist, and I'm also the parent of an ADHD child who's now an adult. And we went through all of his growing up before there were formal diagnoses. ADHD did not exist as a diagnosis when he was young. And frankly, we had no idea what we had on our hands. And we probably made about every mistake you can make in our parenting because it looked kind of like a behavior problem more than what we've later found out is that ADHD is a neurologic condition. Okay, basically, ADHDers tend to metabolize uh, certain neurotransmitters, dopamine being among one of many, and that's what causes the difficulties. The ADHDers have depleted dopamine, and so a lot of times that hyperactivity, that running around, yelling, screaming, jumping up and down, and all that stuff, and the risk taking is designed to increase the flow of neurotransmitters, particularly dopamine. Um, and so it is not a behavior problem. Okay. It is not got anything to do with being a behavior problem. Okay. And ADHD is also inherited, it runs in the families. And it is like the heritability index is like 85%, which is incredibly high. Okay. So if you have an ADHD child, you have tons of ADHD relatives on one side or the other of the family, maybe both, and who knows. But it's that's kind of a big deal, and I think um, the huge problem has been that the way most treatment was designed was that the ADHDer was, rewarded for good behavior and punished for bad behavior. Uh, this doesn't work very well with ADHDers since they basically don't have any control over that. The impulsivity is hardwired into their brains. The tendency to blurt whatever's on their mind is hardwired into their brain, and they don't have a whole heck of a lot of control over it. So punishing them is essentially meaningless. That's, well, I can think of all sorts of things and examples that are metaphors for like punishing a kid with cerebral palsy for having a flapping arm. Uh, he doesn't have any control over it. That's not his fault. It's the neurologic condition, and the same with ADHD. It's a neurologic condition, and the quicker you realize that and start to adapt and adjust to it, the more successful you'll be in parenting an ADHD child. Now, I've been doing this for like 40 years now, so I speak with a certain gravitas of great age. We didn't know, back in when my child was young, we did not know. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know why it was going on. All we knew is that he did things that the other kids didn't do. He was the kid who got the water ski rope and hooked it to his friend's bicycle and jumped on his skateboard and let him tow him around the neighborhood until he crashed and burned and broke his collarbone. So we found out about it when he was on his way to the hospital. And just a whole lifetime of dealing with those sorts of things and not knowing what was going on. Why in the world would you do something like that? And what do I do about it? Am I supposed to punish him? Well, back in the day, that's what a lot of my colleagues in the psychological fraternity, that's what they were doing. Matter of fact, I had one One guy I knew pretty well, he was in private practice, and he said he had a kid come up to him and say, "Doc, I figured out what your job is." And he, huh? Oh, what was that? And the kid said, "You figure out better ways to punish me." Oh, no. Uh, that would cause me serious concern as a psychologist. If that was the best a kid could come up with for what my job was, I would be a little concerned about my position in this, well, what I was doing. And frankly, that kind of behavior was dead wrong. It didn't do a thing, and it's never going to. Punishment does not work with ADHD kids, okay? You don't get better behavior by punishing them, okay? That doesn't mean you can't set limits, but punishment, no, no. Confining them to their room for, 3 weeks or whatever, no, that's not going to do anything. Except possibly get yourself a bitter, angry teenager later on in life. That we've always got to be aware of the long-term consequences. On another occasion, I had a mother, who was very proud of herself. She said her son was sleeping on a mattress on the floor in his room with nothing else in it. No books, no toys, nothing. No desk, nothing. And it didn't even have a door on the room. And she was so proud of herself, because she was doing the behavior modification thing, and problem is she'd basically run out of things to punish him with. And guess what his attitude was? And that is probably the biggest problem ADHDers have is they look normal. They look like everybody else, but their brain is different. And it's not like they're retarded or something. They're very bright. That's why a lot of our best entrepreneurs have ADHD. But they have a brain that's not wired for our current society. It's just not. They are not hardwired to be able to sit still in school for 6 or 8 hours. They are not hardwired to be able to come home from doing that and spend 2 or 3 hours doing homework. They are not hardwired to do it just because somebody else says they should do it. Okay, they'll work really hard at some things if they decide they want to do it. But if somebody orders them to and tells them they're not going to get a good grade or something like that if they don't do it, they could care less. That's the way their brain works. And it's not that they're being willful or bratty or antisocial or conduct disordered or anything like that. It's the way their brain works. And so basically, the more you punish, the more problems you're going to have. And the more you ignore the fact that this is a neurologic condition, the more problems you're going to have. Okay, that's, you may have heard that I have a parenting program called Strategic Parenting. And it's based on neurologic principles of raising an ADHD child, not treating them like they're a behavior disorder or willful or any of that stuff. It's not. It's the way their brain works. They can't really help it. That doesn't mean you can't set limits. That doesn't mean you can't teach them compensatory strategies. We spend a lot of time talking about that. It's not that you can't teach them to compensate, but you can't just punish them into new behavior. I'm not sure you can do that with anything. I know a woman who was a world famous dog trainer, and she never punished. She says, when you punish, you never know what kind of behavior you're going to get, but it's going to be something worse than what you were trying to get rid of. And that's basically the way it is. What you punish any person, but your kids, and you're going to temporarily suppress the behavior, but then something else is going to emerge in its place, and it probably is going to be worse than what you're trying to suppress. Anyway, it's a lot more complicated than I'm making it right now. That doesn't mean you don't set limits and don't set standards and all that stuff. But I'll have to spend some time talking about that in another occasion. Positive reinforcement, they love positive reinforcement. Reward the behavior you want to see. Understand the behavior you don't want to see. Is it because of the ADHD? Most likely it is. Okay, and remember, that's a condition, a neurologic condition. They can't do anything about it, and they inherited it from one of you, either you or your spouse. Direct transmission genetically. So I'm wondering, and I'd like you to help me here a little bit if you could. I'd like some responses. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, I'm looking at trying to do something that helps people more with their ADHD children, more than just doing this, and writing articles and so on. And I'm torn between two different things. One is a course. I've got a course that's been sort of fleshed out, and I've been working on it for a while, and it's about 6 units, and about an hour or so. It'll probably run longer than that, knowing how things work here, but about an hour and a half a night, for about 6 weeks. Okay, that'd be one thing. Another thing would be what they call a membership group, which is basically you pay a monthly fee, $27, $37, something like that, which it's not pretty reasonable. That's less than your Starbucks money for the month, probably. And basically, we have a couple of sessions where we do Q&As or a presentation on some part of ADHD. And it basically runs all year. And once you're in, the fare, the price, the cost stays the same for as long as you're in the group. If you stay a couple of years, that has some advantages. First of all, it's cheaper. Second of all, it's more tailored to Q&A kinds of things, question and answer kinds of things. I forgot the courses. I've been talking to people who do a lot of this stuff, and they've been recommending $997, but I would at least be starting out at $497. Which, when you do that for 6 units, you divide it by 6, that's pretty reasonable. But I'm trying to decide, and I'd really like some help in which way you think would be best, or which way you'd be most likely to participate in. Okay, because I love this format, but one of the different difficulties is the feedback is not real strong. The only real feedback I get consistently is how many people watch the show eventually. Anyway, so thank you in advance. I hope a number of you will find it in your heart to respond and let me know. And because I'm going to be doing a launch pretty soon, so I want to know a little bit in advance. And I have a lot of friends who are doing launches, and just say some of them aren't going real well, and I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But anyway, just let me know what your opinion is. Okay. All right. This is Dr. Terry James Gingras. This has been Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show designed to make the world safe for ADHDers. Because remember, we need those people. They think outside the box. They're the people who come up with the solutions for the big problems. Neuroconsistent thinkers, they're the folks who are just have regular brains. They do a real good job of keeping the system going as it is. But it's the neurodivergent thinkers the outside the box thinkers that come up with the solutions to new problems. And we need those people. We need them real bad. So it's important that your child, grows to full maturity, feeling good about him or herself. Because honestly, we really need them, and I'll let it go with that. My website is terrygingrassphd.com. Got a bunch of stuff there, but anyway, right now, most likely, if you give me some information, some feedback about what you think would be the best of the two options I mentioned. Okay, we will catch you next week, same time. See ya.